Good morning, students. Today we will discuss the idea of civil society by Michael Walzer. I have thought to divide this lecture into two parts, and in part one, I will deal with why he talked about civil society, and in part two, I will discuss about what is his idea of civil society and what would be the connection between the state and civil society, or in other words, is there any need of state in civil society? So today I will deal with the first part, that is why he talked about civil society, how he introduced the emergence of civil society. Intellectual talks about the state, the economy, the nation, and then civil society, because these are crucial social formation. At this moment, we do not live comfortably in any of them within civil society. This statement is best understood. So, if you see the philosophers and intellectuals, almost all of them, they have dealt with either state, or economy, or nation, or civil society, individual. Why they have dealt with all these concepts? It is because these are crucial for social formation, because man is a social animal. Without society man cannot live, so the formation of social is very important. And today we all experience that we do not live a comfortable life with either the state, or economy, or nation, or civil society. And within the civil society, as a civil society activist, you can better understand this statement. Now, what is civil society? How to understand civil society? Now, civil society, it is a space of uncoerced coercion. I mean, there will be no coercion, uncoerced human association, a set of relational networks formed for the sake of family, faith, interest, and ideology. So, in civil society, without our relational network, without our interrelation, civil society cannot exist. So, interrelation network is very crucial, along with uncoercion. There should not be any coercion in civil society. And the civil society, it is formed for the sake of family. Civil society is related with family. Who will deal with the disputes that arises in the family? Which is the best institution to deal with? Do you think state? Certainly not. It is the civil society. If you remember Dawkins, for him rights are the moral entitlement. Here society can better handle the issues than the state. Now civil society is necessary for family. Civil society gives a faith to the individual that civil society is existing for their better life. Civil society is related with the ideology. It is not related. Society, you will find different ideological person and their expression of their notion. Now, Central and East European intellectuals had a restricted version of civil society. It is the rebuilding of network by descendants for promoting and preventing this or that. Now, if you see the European intellectuals, for them, civil society is very limited. There is a limited role of civil society. And what is the limited role of civil society? Either it is promoting one thing or it is preventing something. So, civil society in the West, it is just as a kind of interest group or pressure group. It is just a means. But in India, civil society is both a means and an end. Publicists and preachers warn us for a steady attenuation of everyday cooperation and civic friendship. It exposes that our cities are noisier and nastier than they once were. Family solidarity, mutual assistance, political like mindedness, all these are less certain and less substantial than they were they once were. So why Michael Walzer is saying that you can feel that individuals don't live comfortably either in state, economy, nation, civil society. Okay, let me make it very clear. When you talk about society, then it means there is state, there is economy, there is nation, everything comes under this society, right? Today, preachers, those who preach, they talk about cooperation, they talk about everyday cooperation, they talk about friendship, civic friendship. Why they talk about? It is because this cooperation and civicness is missing in this society. Today, our society is much more noisier, nastier than it was earlier. Today, you may not find family solidarity, mutual assistance, political like mindedness, even in a dining table, on a dining table. The members of a family, they are divided by different political ideologies. But it was not earlier. It is because there was cooperation, there was civicness, civic friendship. It was in earlier society. But today, such things are very rare. It is rarely seen in the society. Now, to Walzer, Hobbesian account of society or Hobbesian account of state of nature is more persuasive. Walzer, he is thinking that perhaps Hobbes is right. The way Hobbes has designated the state of nature, today we are experiencing that. We have not thought enough about solidarity and trust. We have been thinking too much about social formation of different form and in competition with civil society. So we do not think about solidarity and trust sincerely. Okay, we have been thinking social formation, from different political ideology point of view. We have been thinking social formation in different forms. And many times we think social formation in competition with civil society. We have neglected the network, which is very essential for the civil society. We have neglected the network through which civility is produced and reproduced. So without civility, different political ideology or different political ideology group, they have been busy in the production, reproduction, in the formation and reformation of society. The social thinkers, theorists of 19th and 20th century give different answer to the same question. If you ask one question, what is good life? Then 19th and 20th century philosophers, theorists, they give different answers. And all these rival ideological group, they claim completeness and correctedness in their answer. Now to Walzer, each of these political ideological group is importantly wrong. Why he is saying it is importantly wrong? It is important because whatever they have said, that is partially true. It can contribute to the answer, but it is not the final answer. That's why it is wrong. So this absolute claim of completeness and correctness, that is wrong. But they contribute to the meaning, of that answer or of that good life. What is good life? They can contribute to the meaning of good life, but their claim of completeness, that is something else. That's why it is importantly wrong, as each negates the necessity of pluralism of any civil society. Now civil society demands the existence of pluralism, and all the political ideology they speaks about, or they tries to give a universal sense, and thereby they try to create a homogeneous society. They try to marginalize pluralism. Now that is the deficit of that school of thought, of that ideology, Michael Walzer is saying. That is not the full answer, that is the partial answer. Now, in that essay, Michael Walzer is asking a question, that what is good life? And he has given 4 answers by 4 political ideological group, and thereby he has critiqued all these 4 answers. And finally, he has talked about the civil society, the importance of civil society, the significance of the civil society. The question is, what is good life? Now, if you ask what is good life to the left intellectual, then you will find there are 2 positions, 2 answers. The left intellectuals will give 2 answers, or will answer this question, what is good life, in 2 ways. Now, the first position holds that good life is possible in a democratic state within which we all are citizens, freely engaged, fully committed decision making members. To live well is to be politically active, working with others to determine our common destiny, in which our rational and moral capacities finds expression. Now, the first category of left intellectual, they will say that good life is possible with the establishment of a democratic state. And in a democratic state, we become its citizen, we freely engage with the state, with one another, we are fully committed to that state, we are the decision making member. Democracy, it is the rule by people, rule by the people, for the people, of the people. So we are the decision maker. And in a democracy, if you want to have a good life, you have to be politically assertive, you have to be politically active. And when you are politically active, you work with others. Or when you will be politically active, only when you work with others to determine our own destiny. And when you actively participate with others, then your moral and rational capacity finds expression. So, this is the answer of the first category of leftist intellectual. Now, to Walzer, how Walzer is critiquing this first category of leftist intellectual. Now, to Walzer, there is difference between good life and real life. No doubt, the power of democratic state has grown up in response to the demands of engaged citizens. So no doubt people are very important in democracy. Power of the democratic state has increased due to the demands of the engaged citizen. So citizens who are participating, they are demanding more democratic rights. So thereby democracy or democratic state has grown up. But it cannot be said that the state is fully in the hands of citizens. So no doubt the state is by the citizen, but is it of the citizen? Is it for the citizen? Right? The rule of demos is insignificant. The role of demos is insignificant. It is illusionary. Participation of ordinary individual in the activities of state is largely vicarious. So Walzer is saying, okay, it sounds good. Good life means this. This is what theory prescribes. And we think that democracy or democratic state is a means to achieve the good life. But good life is different from a real life. And from the real life experience, one can know that here the state is by the people, but state is not for the people or of the people. The rule of demos, that is a illusion. Ordinary individuals, the role of ordinary individual in the activities of state is largely vicarious. It is not there. It is the elite who are dealing with the state activities. So that's how Walzer critiqued the first position of leftist intellectuals concerning the good life. Now there is second, or there is another category of leftist intellectual. They constitute the second position, and this position holds that good life is possible through focusing on economic activity, right? Where we all can be producer, artists, inventors, artisans. By this, individual make useful and beautiful objects, not for the sake of objects, but for the sake of creativity itself, the highest expression of our being. Now, the second category of leftist intellectual, they gave emphasis not on democratic state but on economy, cooperative economy, right? And it is through economy we express our existence, we express our being. How? Now, it is because of economic activity, individuals become producers, individuals become artists, inventors, artisans, and individuals make useful and beautiful objects. And individual is not simply making the objects, rather individual is showing its creativity to the others that I can do this. So objects is not the not the intention of the individual to expose. Individual makes object in order to show his creativity to the others, and that's how individual is trying to express himself and herself. And what should be the role of the state? State will be a manager towards the achievement of this goal. And democracy, whether democracy is required or not, now democracy is valued mainly because it enables socialist movement to happen. So state will be there. State will be there to achieve the goals of the individual, right? And if there is any problem from the side of the state, then democracy must be there as it enables the socialist movement to happen, as it enables people to do a movement against the state. So the democratic state is not for good life but for class struggle. So to the second category of leftist intellectuals, for them democratic state is not related with the good life of individual. Rather, democratic state is required to do a class struggle. The purpose of the struggle is to win. The purpose of the struggle is to win, and the victory will bring an end to the democratic instrumentality. So democratic state is there in order to do a, or in order to facilitate people to do a class struggle, and the purpose of that struggle is to win and to dismantle the instrumental aspect of the democratic state. So democracy is required in order to wither away the democratic state, right? The expression of individual of their being, it will not be reflected by the democratic state. It will be reflected by their creativity. And this creativity is reflected only when they make objects. They become producer, they become artists, they become inventors, they become artisan. Now to Walzer, this second position is set against an unbelievable background, a non-political state and regulation without conflict. Right. Now the second position presupposes that to Walzer. Walzer is again critiquing to the second position or to the second category of leftist intellectual. Now Walzer is saying that the assumption on which the second position is based, that is or that cannot be believed, is unbelievable, right? In the second position, non-political state has been talked about, right? It talked about state will be there, but state will be an instrument, state will be a manager. It does not talk about conflicts within the state, and when you talk about conflicts you enter into the political means conflictual. So in the second position you will find state in a non-political sense, you will find regulation but in not conflict. So in a sense Walzer is dismissing the very assumption of the second position. He further says that state in socialist countries have moved rapidly into foreground. Socialists call themselves as democratic socialists, focusing on the state as well as on economy for good life. Walzer believed that two are better than one and he takes this as progress. Now Walzer is saying if you see the socialist countries, then you will find that almost all socialists they call themselves as democratic socialists. Now in democratic socialism, both the state and economy is important. Both the state, the existence of state and the existence of economy, both are important for the good life. And Walzer believes that these two are better than the one. If you want to have a good life, you cannot think without state and you cannot think without economy. It is better to combine these two in order to generate a situation where individuals can lead a good life. And Walzer thinks that combining democratic state and economy is in fact the progress. So let me take 2 minutes break, then I'm coming back. Now Walzer is interacting with the capitalist and their notion of good life. And he has also critiqued them. Now for capitalist, the preferred setting of good life is the marketplace, where individuals as consumers choose among a maximum number of options. To live well is not to make political decisions or beautiful objects. It is to make personal choices. Now, capitalists, for them, good life means making personal choices, and marketplace provides that opportunity to the individual. It is not with making political decision. It is not making the beautiful objects. It is the actively or it is the activity of choosing that makes for autonomy, right? That means if you are not choosing, if you are not given right to choice, then you are not independent or autonomous individual. You will become an independent and autonomous individual only when you have the right to choose. And to capitalist, it requires a minimal state. State, in liberalism we say state is a necessary evil. It requires a minimal state which must facilitate the entrepreneurs who compete one another to supply whatever consumer want or might be persuaded to want. Now in capitalism, you will find the role of state is minimum, just to maintain the law and order. It has to facilitate the entrepreneurs so that they can compete with one another to supply the best quality with least price to the consumers so that the consumer can enjoy their right to choice. And the aim is to increase their market power, right? Why the competition is allowed in the capitalist system? The competition is allowed in order to increase the market power of the entrepreneurs, to maximize their option or to maximize the option of the consumers. Competition is required so that entrepreneurs will get an opportunity to increase their market power. Second, consumer will get the maximum option. Now in capitalist definition, market is preferred over political, community and cooperative economy, right? Now to capitalist, good life is possible if there is market. Good life is or cannot be possible with a political community or cooperative economy. So they are asserting on market and they are rejecting the political community and cooperative economy. Now to Walzer, he is critiquing to the capitalist understanding of good life. Now for Walzer, no doubt choices are there, but people come to market with unequal resources, right? People, there are, people having different economic status, and they come to the market and they cannot enjoy the way a poor people cannot enjoy the market the way a rich people enjoys. Hence, not everyone can access the commodity. A poor people cannot access the AC, air condition. Market is not a good setting. So Walzer is saying, if market is or market cannot provide things to the poor people and market is for rich, then market certainly is not a good setting for mutual assistance. Autonomy in Marketplace provides no support for social solidarity. So the first point is that market cannot satisfy the demands of the poor. First. Second, in the market system, you may not find mutual assistance. Nobody is for none, right? And it is because of the importance on the autonomy of the individual, it is because of that autonomy, social solidarity does not emerge. Large number of people drop out of market economy and live precariously on its margin. If you see the market, then you will find people who have given their labor to build a 10-stair building. They are situating themselves in the margin of the market, at the end of the market, at the last, not at the core. So, market is not for rich, market is not for proletariat, market is for bourgeois. That is why capitalism is dependent on the state action to prevent theft, ensure contract, guarantee minimal welfare. Now, to capitalist, state is required. Why? Because capitalists, they know that the poor people, they may involve in stealing. So to prevent the stealing, to prevent the theft, state must be there. State must be there to enforce the contract. When two entrepreneurs, they are having a contract, who will be the enforcing agency? State is the enforcing agency. State will enforce the contract. State will give guarantee to the minimal welfare. So those who are the victim of development, those who are the victim of capitalism, state is required to give minimal welfare to them. Otherwise, they will do a civil war. So basically, in capitalism, you can find state as an instrument or state as a function. I said state, the minimal state capitalist talked about. But Walzer is saying that the state has become an instrument, right? Capitalists need the state but have no moral relation to it. So to Walzer is saying, to capitalists, state is a instrument and capitalists do not have any moral connection with the state. Officials are controlled through economy, not through the state. How they are controlled through the economy? If you make a product without efficiency and without effectiveness, then the product what you are making, that may not be sold in the market. You cannot, people may not buy your product, right? So entrepreneurs, they are guided by the economic compulsion, not because of the fear of the state. Profit motive brings them into conflict with democratic regulation. Even the capitalists, they don't like the democratic state because democratic state takes their surplus in form of taxes. So they think that democracy is not good for us because it is taking our hard-earned money. So these profit-seeking capitalists, they have often conflict with democratic state. So that is why you can see how the arm merchants, those who produce arms and ammunition, how the arm merchants sell their latest military technology to the foreign power. Now the capitalists, since they are not connected with the state morally, so since they are more concerned about the profit, these capitalists or merchant, they sell their latest military technology to the foreign countries rather than providing it to their own state. So this is how now Walzer has critiqued the capitalist position on good life. Now to nationalists, the preferred setting of good life is the nation, right? And within which we are loyal members, bound to one another by ties of blood and history. To live well is to participate with others individuals, with other individuals in remembering, cultivating, and passing on national heritage. Now, to nationalists, good life is possible only in a nation. In a nation, you can find loyal members who are connected with one another by ties of blood and history, common history. So to live well is to participate with other individuals. To live well is to participate with other individuals in remembering, in cultivating, in passing the national heritage. It requires no political choice rather than a ritual affirmation. Right. So through nation, through remembering, cultivating, passing the national heritage, you can generate good life. The ritual, it just requires a ritual affirmation that I belong to your culture. If you will say that I belong to your culture and I accept it, then I co-opt you, then we start living nicely. Right? But this ritual affirmation is not enough if the nation is ruled by the foreigner. If the foreigner is ruling, and when a foreigner rules, there is always divide and rule policy of the foreigner. So if a foreigner is ruling, then that ritual affirmation is not or cannot be simply achieved. Now, to live a good life in a regime which is controlled by the foreign ruler, it requires self-sacrifice in the struggle for the national liberation. So good life means sacrificing your life. Good life means giving your life for your national liberation, for the liberation of your nation. Now, individual members seek a good life not for themselves, but for their people. So living good life means not living for yourself. Good life means living for your people, for others. Now to Walzer, beyond liberation, Walzer is not negating the nationalist understanding of good life. Walzer is not negating the capitalist understanding of good life or leftist understanding of good life. Walzer is showing the limitation. There are limitations in each understanding of good life. Now critiquing the nationalist position on good life, Walzer is saying beyond liberation, nationalists have no program, only a vague commitment to continued history, to sustain a way of life. Their own life are emotionally intense, but in relation to society and economy, this is dangerously free floating intensity. Now, Walzer is saying, okay, till the nation is liberated, now nationalists, what they say, there is a point that good life means fighting for your nation, sacrificing your life. It is based on a philosophy that good life is not related with your own life. It is not about yourself. It is about for others. If you sacrifice your life for the others, for your own people, then it is good life. Now, Walzer is accepting that. But Walzer is asking this question. Now, once your nation is liberated, then the nationalists, they have no program. The nationalists, they started their vague commitment to their history, to their own way of life. They are very much emotionally charged, intense, but their emotionally charged and intensity produces dangerous consequences in the society and in the economy. And Walzer, that's why he is critiquing to the nationalist position on good life. Again, let me take 1 minute break, then I'm coming back. Coming back. Now to Walzer, all these answers to good life by left, by capitalist, and by nationalist, all these answers are wrong headed because of their singularity. They miss the complexity of the human society. Human society or individuals, they need market, they need a democratic state, they need economic freedom, economic cooperation, they need a nation, they need all these things. They are not satisfied with one. Walzer is uneasy with the idea that there might be the fifth or final answer to this question, that how good life can be achieved. Now, Walzer is not happy with any answer because all this answer is oriented singularity oriented. All this answer, it talks about one aspect. It denounces the other ways. It gives emphasis on one way. Now, Walzer is not happy with that. Walzer is very much uneasy with this idea that any singularity can provide good life. Now, Walzer is uneasy with the idea that there might be a fifth or final answer to this question. Now, according to the 19th and 20th century social thinkers, there is a fifth answer which holds that good life can only be lived in a civil society. Now, 19th and 20th century philosopher, theorists, thinkers, they say that good life is possible in civil society, and civil society is the fifth answer to this question. And these philosopher intellectual theories that define civil society a realm of fragmentation and struggle with concrete and authentic solidarity. So they understand civil society that it is a realm where you can find people are fragmented, people are struggling with one another. At the same time, people are also related. There is solidarity among people. It is all about cooperation crossed by the conflict. So conflict is there, at the same time cooperation is there. The picture here is of people freely associating and communicating one another, forming and reforming group of all sorts, not for the sake for their particular formation, but for the sake of sociability itself. We are by nature social before we are political and economic being. So in a civil society, you will find a picture that there is communication, people communicate to each other, there is association, there is formation and reformation of different kinds of groups, and the goal is not for the sake of any particular formation, but the sake of sociability. So in civil society, you can find pluralism. Civil society must be neutral to different kinds of pluralism. Civil society should not support one formation over the another. Right? Now to Walzer, civil society argument is corrective to those four ideological accounts of good life, rather the fifth stand along with them. Now Walzer is saying, no doubt the 19th century and 20th century philosopher has made the point that in civil society good life is possible, but civil society is not one answer the way we have experienced the four answer to good life. So civil society is not the fifth answer to good life. Rather than this civil society, it is corrective, or it is based on a kind of correction. Instead of being the fifth stand on civil society, Walzer is thinking civil society is not a fifth stand, rather civil society is a corrective measure to four ideological accounts of good life. He's saying that civil society is the last, civil society is the synthesis. So civil society is not either thesis or antithesis. Civil society is a synthesis. It challenges, civil society challenges the singularity in their answer, and civil society should not adopt any singularity in its own. This is Michael Walzer. The civil society must not provide any one answer to this question of good life. Civil society must combine the different answer to good life. Now for Walzer, social being describes individual as citizen who produces, who consumes, who are nationalist at the same time. The associational life of civil society is the actual ground where all versions of good are worked out and tested and proved to be partial, incomplete. So, for Walzer, associational life is very important to the civil society. And in the associational life, all versions of good are required. And civil society must work towards all version of the good. So ideally, civil society is a setting of settings. So civil society is not one setting. Civil society is a setting of settings. All are included, none is preferred. All are included, none is preferred. Walzer tries to explain how civil societies actually incorporate or deny the four answers. Now, in the next class, in my second class, in my part 2, I will discuss that how civil society incorporate all these four answers while making its position on good life. At the same time, how civil society deny all these four answers while conceptualizing good life. So thank you very much. Tomorrow I will deliver the second part of my talk on idea of civil society by Michael Walzer.